Hi everybody, Mindy here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to maintain your virtual private server. Sometimes they're called virtual private networks. But when you're trading Forex and you're using EAs, it is really important to do that on a virtual private server, a VPS, because the VPS servers won't go down, or at least not very often and not for very long. The problem when you're trading MetaTrader EAs is that the EA has to be on all the time, or you might not get the trades that you need to make your EA work properly. So when you have your MetaTrader on your local computer, if Microsoft does an update or something and shuts your computer down, or maybe you lose internet service for a while, or maybe you lose power to your house for a while, what happens is that shuts off your MetaTrader and your EA cannot run properly. So anytime you're using auto trading programs, which are called EAs in MetaTrader, you always want to do that utilizing a virtual private server. Now, what a virtual private server is, it's like a remote desktop, right? It's just like having another computer and another desktop at a separate location, okay? And usually the location is in a server bank at or near where your broker has their servers that actually run all of the the MetaTrader programs. So anyway, what you see on my screen right now is, first of all, this is the blue background is my local computer. That's just my regular computer monitor, right? But what I have here with the orange background, this is my virtual private server that holds my MetaTrader program. Okay, so I usually keep my virtual private server as a window that's smaller than my entire monitor screen, right? Because that way, if I want to open other programs or something like that, then I can layer things around, like if I wanted to have another internet window up here where I wanted to go read the news, or maybe I would want to bring up my email or something like that. When I don't use the entire monitor for any one thing, then I can have a lot of things going on here at the same time, and I just bring to the front whatever I want to look at. Like maybe I want to go in and look at my file explorer because I want to open some other file or something like that. But what I try to do with my computers is I try to not make anything take up the whole monitor, and that way I can layer things around and have access to whatever I want without having to close things and open things. I just bring whatever I want to the front. But right now I'm just going to close these other things off for a minute and show you what the virtual private server looks like if you make it the whole monitor screen. So when I click right here, that enlarges the virtual private server to the entire monitor. So now what I'm looking at down here at the bottom, this is actually the taskbar of the virtual private server, not the taskbar of my local computer. Now watch what happens when I make this not the full screen again. See, right now, this taskbar at the bottom of the screen is the taskbar for my regular computer, right? Because this is just the background for my regular computer. But one of the reasons why I give my virtual private server different colored backgrounds is so that I can immediately identify that that's not on my local computer, it's on my virtual private server. Because the thing is, you know, the natural background of this virtual private server is going to look just like the natural background of my regular monitor, right? And I always like to know where I'm at. You know, I like to know when I'm looking at my MetaTrader on my virtual private server as opposed to looking at my MetaTrader on my local computer. So anyway, there's some things that you need to know about your virtual private server if you want to use them effectively. So the first thing I'm going to do right now is make the virtual private server take up the entire monitor. Okay, so here's my MetaTrader account. The virtual private server is just another desktop, but it's, you know, in a remote location, and I'm just looking at it kind of like in an internet window right now, right? So you always have to kind of keep in mind what's happening, okay? But what we're going to do today is we're going to update the virtual private server, because just like your regular computer has Microsoft updates, your virtual private server is going to have Microsoft updates also. And so you have to keep up with those. Now, the best way to do that is, well, first of all, you'll know when your virtual private server wants to make updates because it will give you a message. Usually what happens is it'll darken out the screen a little bit, not to black, but like I have a orange background, it'll go to a dark orange background, and it'll pull up a message that will say something like updates required or something like that, and that'll be in a big dark gray strip across it. And when you get that message, what you can do is you can put off the updates the same way that you would in your regular computer by going to the updates. And to get to that, you just like you would on a regular computer, you go down here to the Windows and you click on that, and you go to your settings, and then you go to your updates and your security features. And what you do is you just tell it to pause the updates for a while, right? See, right now what I have is I have some updates that are current, and it wants to install them, right? And so a couple of days ago I got that message on this computer, and I told it not now, you know, we'll do that at a different time, right? And so what I'm going to do right now first, though, is I'm going to close that window. When you're doing your MetaTrader updates, it's best to have your MetaTrader closed. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close the MetaTrader with, you know, just actually shut it down completely. Now, the reason I'm doing that is I'm doing these updates on a Saturday when the Forex market is closed. So it's not going to matter to the EA. The EA can't make trades when the market's closed, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the little Windows thing. I'm going to go back to the settings. I'm going to go back to the updates and security. And I'm going to tell it to install the updates. So I'm just going to click on install now. Now, one of the things that you have to remember with virtual private servers is the updates seem to take a lot longer when you're updating on a virtual private server. I'm not really sure why they take longer, but they just do. And so that you can't get worried about it. If it's taking like several hours or something, don't worry about that. Just try to plan doing updates at a time when you've got hours to mess around with it, in case something goes wrong or in case it takes longer than you think it should, because it always takes a lot longer than doing Microsoft updates on your local computer. So I'm going to pause this video for a while it finishes installing these updates, and then when we get to the next step, I'll turn the video back on. Okay, so it downloaded the updates, and now it wants to restart. Now that took quite a while. It took about 20 minutes for it to download those updates. If yours takes longer than that, don't worry about it. When it's finished, what it will say is your device is scheduled to restart, okay? and then it'll give you the option of restarting now. So what you want to do now, first you want to make sure that you have your MetaTrader closed, and I do. And so I'm going to tell it to restart. And what that's going to do, it's just like restarting your own computer when you do some Microsoft updates. But here again, it takes longer on these VPSs and VPNs. So if the process takes longer than you expect, don't worry about that. Just keep waiting. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tell it to restart now, and then by punching that button, and now it's gonna say restarting. Now here again, this could take a while. So when it did that, it disappeared, okay? Because when it restarted, what it did is it broke the connection to the VPS server, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just wait about, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, and then I'm going to try to reset the remote desktop. I'm not going to do it now because it's not going to find it. So I'll show you what I would do though. See, this is my remote desktop connection, and I'm going to tell it to reconnect, but what's going to happen is it's not going to do it. Okay, so see, nothing happened, okay, because what's happening is that remote desktop, my VPS, is rebooting, okay, and if it's not booted up, it's not going to open. So I'm just going to pause the video, wait about 10 or 15 minutes, and then try to connect again to the VPS. Now, if it won't connect then, I'll wait another 15 minutes and try again. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video again. I'll turn the video back on when I can reestablish my connection to my VPN. Okay, my remote desktop has it's been about a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, so it's probably finished doing its update. So I'm going to try to reestablish the connection by clicking on my remote desktop connection and telling it to connect, and going through the process of reopening the remote desktop. Okay, so it's reopened. So now it should be finished doing the updates. But just to check, like you should always do when you're doing your regular computer, after you've done updates, it's a good idea to go check and see if there's any more updates that it wants to do. So I'm going to click on the Windows. I'm going to go back to the settings. I'm going to go check the updates and security again. And sure enough, it has another update that it wants to do. Okay, so I'm going to tell it to install that one now, and then that one is installing. So we'll give it a few minutes, and while it's doing that, we'll tell it to check for some more, see if there's more that it wants to do. Okay, it looks like it's finished. I guess that one was just a little one that just took a couple of seconds to update, and it does not say that it wants to restart. So I think everything is fine. So I'll close that window and we're good to go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my MetaTrader program from the taskbar on the remote desktop. There we go, and that took a little bit to get that opened up, so it looks like everything is fine. And so I'm ready to rock and roll again. So there you have it. That's how you do it. Now what I'm going to do is I like to keep my remote desktop, as you know, not being the whole screen. So I'm going to go ahead and place my MetaTrader where I like to keep it, and then I'm going to click right here to make the remote desktop not take up the whole monitor, and we're right back where we started from. All done. Now what you do need to remember is that you do want to do these Microsoft updates on your remote desktops, your VPSs, VPNs, whatever you call them, typically at a time when the markets are not open. Saturday is a great time to do this, because if you run into a glitch, you've got plenty of time. You don't have to freak out about not knowing what's going on in your MetaTrader accounts and things like that. And also, you know, if you do run into a snag, then you'll be able to get a hold of your broker or whoever you have your VPS server with to maybe have them help you through getting things reconnected if you run into any trouble. So I hope this video has helped you, and I'll see you the next time. Bye.